Gesso is just for the most part, way too runny to put down over a stencil, at least for my tastes. Hey guys, May Flom here, and I am in the end of my art journal, at least this particular art journal, and I didn't like the grayish cardboard back last page, so I put down a little bit of paste. I actually used Faber-Castell Whip Spackle, but any paste would do. And then after I put that down, now I'm just spreading a little gesso over the top to kind of add just a little more of the finish I want, but also just kind of give a little more to my stencil here, what I'm looking for. And there is still a stencil under there. I'm just spreading it around with a palette knife because I find that to be the best tool for the job. And I think I'm at the point now where I want to get that stencil out of there, put all my supplies away, and see where we're at. So let's see here. I'm going to use this pair of scissors because I see a couple of stencil edges that I can grab onto, and I want to make sure to do this nicely. So there we go. Aha. And you can see a butterfly under that stencil. That would be, and I'm going to set this down here and rub this with a brayer. That would be because I happened to place that down before I decided to stencil. I had put it down, that butterfly stamp down, and then decided I didn't love it and I wanted to stencil. So then, well, here we are. All right, so I'm playing in my art journal, and that just gave a little texture. It really didn't do anything. I'm going to go wash this off and also give this a chance to dry. Now that this is pretty much dry, some of the thicker spots are still a little wet, but that's okay. I am going to take this stamp, and ooh, I'm going to get a little gesso on the front of it. That's okay. I'm going to take this stamp, and I'm just going to use a permanent ink. This is a Ranger dye ink pad. It really doesn't matter, as long as whatever ink pad you use will not react. And I'm going to give it a really good, you might wonder, like, why am I doing this stamping CPR? Why am I really getting it good here? We're at the very end of my journal, so it's a very uneven and squishy surface. And yep, that's good enough. So it's hard to get a good stamp when you have all these layers of paper and it's soft. And anyway, I'm going to want to let that dry, and then we can get to coloring. First up, I'm going to take some watercolor pencils, and I'm just going to give her face a little coloring. Now these should work well because I'm working on a surface that's mostly covered in gesso, so that should give me the base that I want. I'm also going to color, not her whole wings, I'm just going to color the actual wing part, the little parts where there's the bubbles. I'm not going to color those yet. I have ideas for those, but I don't want to color those yet. And I am kind of just trying to go nicely in the direction that the wings would be going, so that if there are any streaks that end up showing, it won't be horrible or hideous or anything. And then I'm just going to take a water brush and blend this out. And it should let me blend her face there. If I want to get more off, I always just use my hand and wipe the brush on my hand here. If I wanted to take more color off part, I would just come in here with, keep coming in with the water brush. You can see how it's getting lighter on this side. Whoops, I didn't quite let that dry long enough, so I got a little bit of an issue there, but that's okay. This should work out. Let me hit that with the heat tool because I guess I didn't quite let the ink dry or set long enough. If that happens, then, well, this can happen where you're adding water in and the ink is still wet, so it blends. But that's okay because I wanted her to have a little darker face anyway, so that's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to blend these guys, and they're blending nicely. And then the next step that I want to do, there's going to be some You know, here in my art journal, I don't pressure myself. Whatever I feel like doing is fine. There's no pressure. If it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. I don't care. Because every page is a new adventure, and every page is a chance for me to try techniques and experiment with stuff. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these Faber-Castell. This is the clear, the ice liner. If you had glossy accents or diamond glaze, that should work. Okay, so I unplugged this. At least I think I did. We're going to... Woo! Yes, I did. Yeah, there it comes. All right, so I unplugged this, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit on the bubbles in the wings and a couple other bubbles because I want to be able to color pretty wild and free here. Oops, I see I got a little bit here and there. That's okay. And I'm also going to just kind of create my own bubbles as well. I like to do stuff like this to kind of extend the stamp. So in other words, I'm just kind of playing with adding my own little interpretation on this stamp, adding in my own touches, my own little bits of what's happening or what, you know, beyond the stamp, what's going on here. So I'm just going to, if I see spots that look kind of like they're bubbles here in her design, I'm going to go ahead and coat those. What this should do, in theory here, is it should create a really cool effect of some spots that are going to resist color. The only downside to this is that I'm now going to have to wait. I now have to let that completely dry before I do anything else, and I can hurry it along a little bit with some heat tool, but it really is just going to need at least a little bit of heat tool plus at least, I don't know, 15-20 minutes to really set up. Next, I'm going to want to give her some color in her hair before I get moving on too much farther, and I think what I'm going to do is put some green in here. I'm going to color in, and I'm not doing straight because her hair looks like a bundle of all kinds of interesting little bits here. So you can give her a little green and then go in here with a very dark brown pencil and basically color in whatever I didn't get with the green. And I think that all my little bubbles here are pretty much dry, but I don't want to push it because if I had let this set, say, for a couple hours or overnight or whatever, I would go ahead and color over them. But since I didn't, since I'm kind of trying to hurry them along because I'm really excited about this project and want to get working on it, that means that I'm not actually 100% sure that every single little bubble is dry. So that's why I'm kind of slowing down and also kind of taking it easy to not intentionally directly go onto them here. You can see how with that watercolor pencil so much comes to life. And it, by the way, it's completely because I have the gesso base that these are blending so nicely. If this was standard cardstock untreated, it would not be blending this nice. It just wouldn't. It just would be soaking into the paper instead of blending around. And I'm going to kind of try to add a little water and blend a little bit between the green and the brown so it's not quite so obvious where those lines lay. And also kind of go around a little bit more. Okay, and then I wanted to give her a little more color in her face. I didn't mean to take so much color out of her face. That just kind of happened as I was showing you how I like to blend. So give her a little more color there. We'll let it blend out. Okay. Now for the bottom of her, I'm thinking about getting some more blue colors, and I'm also thinking about kind of doing kind of a rainbow type look here where I'm thinking I'm just going to have two different blues and a purple that I'm thinking I'm just going to kind of color in here and then blend together and see what happens. Remember, this is all about experimenting and trying techniques and ideas without any fear. If I want to try something like this on a mixed media canvas, on a card, whatever project I might want, I will be able to do so. And better yet, because I've been playing here in my journal, I am going to know what does work and what does not really work that well, because I just was able to cut loose here and play. So I'm going to extend that out just a bit, and I'm also going to kind of try to add a bit more water to that so I can blend it out a little better, because I don't want it to be like a really hard line there. Okay. And now I will hit this with, I'm going to put my pencils away so I don't lose my pencils. Goodness knows I could totally see myself doing that. Dry this a bit, and then I'm going to hit it with some gelatos to get some more color going. I'm really loving how she looks and how much fun it is just to kind of color in there. So with the gelatos, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try two different things. I'm going to do them on both sides here. I'm going to kind of try to make bit of that color. I am directly applying these dry, and I feel confident in doing that because I've got the gesso down that's going to help so that it doesn't just like absorb into here. Ooh, that one's been used, I see. So I feel confident in doing that because I don't think it's going to just absorb and then not blend. I think it should blend really nicely, in fact. So, and remember, I've got the texture from the stencil, so I'm going to kind of keep squeezing here so that I have a lot of water so I don't just like kill my water brush here scrubbing on a rough surface. And then I'm just going to kind of blend down through here and just let the color follow me down. I am going to kind of leave a little bit of a gap for her. Can you see, you should be able to see here, how there's these nice little bubbles that are now appearing, these nice little bubbles where the color is just kind of floating over. Why? Well, because of what we've done here. We've got, I'm going to kind of pull it down this way, because of what we did there with the, I want to call it glossy accents, but the ice liner, the Faber-Castell ice liner, what I did there with that is kind of giving us a neat, another layer of color, or rather of no color. And I like that I can see some of the stencil design and the texture in the gesso here. And let's see what happens over here. So over here, I'm not too worried about that grayish background. I'm pretty much thinking that what I'm going to do with all this is add another layer of gesso and color more. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. What will happen? What'll we get here blending in this way and with that raw cardboard surface compared to the treated surfaces. Love to experiment, you guys. Love to try stuff out and see where it's going. Okay. All right, so I don't dislike it, actually. I kind of like it, but I kind of also don't like it. So I'm going to take a bit of gesso, and I'm just looking around at my paintbrush options here. I'm going to take this paintbrush here, and this Faber-Castell gesso is really super thin, and I should have thought about this a little more, but I think it'll be okay. That's all right. I'll just want to put some dabs in there so I'm not going back and forth into there when I don't want to contaminate it with color. So that should be enough, because all I really want to do is put a tiny, tiny thin coat on that grayish cardboard background. And you can see how easy it is. You can also see that because I'm using such a tiny amount, and I already have those color mediums down, the color mediums are picking up with the gesso, blending with it, and they're not turning totally white. I'm keeping some color, which is great. I love it. So I will want to come back in here with more color once this is dry. But for now, I like that I can still see some of the darkness below, but the light coating of gesso has kind of fixed the problem I was having with that area. And I also really, really like, in looking at this, I really like that because I use such a small amount of thin gesso, I can still clearly see the stencil design. The stencil design did not go anywhere. It did not disappear. It did not get ruined because of what I did. So we're going to let this dry off, and then I'm thinking a little bit of spray, a little bit of gold spray, and maybe a word or two to finish off my page here. So I let this dry a bit, and you know what? I got to tell you, I am so in love with this. And what I really am in love with is how the stencil, you know, it left a few imprints, like of these flowers and of some of these designs. I can see a few imprints. And what I really like is how great it was to have the gelato just rubbed on top, but then just activated with water and blended a bit with water. I really love how it would stick a little darker in places and it's a little lighter in places. All those little dots, you know, there's just so much that I like about this technique-wise. You know, maybe it's not the ultimate finished page, and that's okay. I don't need my art journal to be finished, polished, you know, like ready to hang on the wall. What I need it for is to help me unlock all of my creative ideas. So this was a really fun one to work on. I'm still finishing it up here. What I've got now is some Ranger paint dabber and a stamp, because I was thinking it'd be kind of fun to add. And the stamp is really helpful. I'm going to squeeze a little water and blend a bit of this stamp off our lady friend here. And I want to make sure to clean my water brush so that the paint doesn't get stuck in it. Okay, but what I really want to do here is just kind of dab some of that off. I like to stamp with paint in my art journal because paint has a little more body. It's a little easier to get some cool stuff going on. And I'm going to try over on this side as well. And I just want to make sure to wipe down my stamp when I'm done. You don't have to get every bit of paint off, but if you don't, clean it out, and I'll have to just grab a little bit of water and wash that out in a moment. If I don't clean it off, what's going to happen is it's going to build up, and pretty soon I'm not going to be able to stamp because the whole stamp is full of paint, and that would be a problem. Okay, I do want to take a bit more gelato in here. Have so much fun with these, and I've really discovered that if I didn't used to like to apply them directly, and I really discovered if I paired them with gesso so that we have a surface that they're more blendable on, then I do like using them applied like this straight onto a project. And I love that it kind of gives me the unpredictability of coloring with, say, a color wash, a mist, that type of product, but without any of the overspray. So that's always fun. Okay, so I've got that going, and I've got my water brush is clean. I always just pour a little water through it just to make sure it's clean for next time. Now I'm going to take some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in gold because it's my favorite. I pop the top off, and I'm just going to flick some on here. Now it should be interesting, over on this side it's still very wet, so some of these droplets may really spread quite far. And I'll put a couple over here, more over here because I just love it. I can't get enough of that spray. Okay, and then last touch, I've got some, these are Tim Holtz word stickers, and I'm really liking these because these particular ones, what I really like is that they're little phrases, like inspirational and uplifting little phrases. So I'm going to take a little PPA because that's my matte finish, all around good stuff, adhesive, sealant, decoupage medium, all of it. Seal those guys up right there so that they won't lift off because we want to be awesome today, do we not? And take a look because guess what, guys? I had a lot of fun with this one, playing with mixing the paste and the gesso, playing with my gelatos, doing a little watercoloring, doing a little experimenting here. Oh, you know what? That's the other thing I want to do. I'm going to take a little cracked pistachio here and give it a couple of sprays. Just because. Just a little distress spray in cracked pistachio because I wanted a little more greenish to be in here. And have fun. I love it. I absolutely love it. This was a blast. Thanks for checking this out. My friend Nicole, amazing YouTuber. She is also playing in her art journal. There's a link for you right there. If you would like to go check her out, see what she's up to on her channel, I strongly recommend her stuff. So you can do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to go off and play more, and I'll be back to share more creative ideas with you right here. Thanks for watching, and I wish you very happy crafting.